Hi, my name is Lainey Smith. For my Bridging Sequence project, I did it with fourth grade teaks over adding fractions. And so starting off, I'm going to be presenting my concrete level activity. So basically for this activity, I've already filled it out a little bit, but you're given a worksheet, and then this is just the answer sheet one, just a little bit easier to read. My printer was a little weird and missed two of the points, so I just wrote them in on the other copy. But so the students will get just one little thing of Play-Doh. Honestly, you could even just do half of these if like a teacher doesn't have that much available. And then the students will also have a ruler, a popsicle stick. It could even be like a pencil or something, a plastic knife, just something to be able to like cut and divide them with a little bit evenly. And then some kind of like cookie cutter. This is just the lid to a mason jar. You could use like a cup, um, something like that. You could also have it to where it's like a square or a rectangle. I just found that circles were pretty easy for dividing up when it came to fractions and like visually seeing a fraction. So that's why I chose to do circle. And then starting out, I kind of wanted to give students time to like play with the Play-Doh, get used to it so it's not so much a distraction, but a learning tool, and just give them time to work with their fractions. So, and just visually be able to see them. So starting out, they're not really doing any problems. They're just kind of flattening it out, cutting it out with their little cookie cutter, any kind of cutter. So then it's a pretty perfect circle. And then they can kind of go ahead and just practice making fractions. So dividing that once, having halves, and then having them just keep going so that they can visually see like, okay, fourths, sixths, eighths, and then just keep going. And then they can do like thirds, sixths, ninths, and just going higher and higher, just to be able to visually see all those different fractions that they might see throughout this whole activity or this whole lesson. And then once they kind of get started on the problems, this can be done individually. I personally think it would be better done individually, just because they're working with a Play-Doh by themselves, they're doing all that by themselves. They could probably use their friends or like table mates to check their work, or maybe just with some help. But I think that this would just be like a good starting warm-up activity for a concrete level. And then so looking at my worksheet, I've already done the first problem, but we look at it, it says 1/2 plus 1/2. You will then take your ruler, cut your circle or whatever shape you choose into your halves. And so I have my 1/2, and then I kind of looking at the problem, I'm gonna try and visually picture it, I guess, lack of a better term, and then my other 1/2. So I know that I'm going to be adding these two together. If the students have enough Play-Doh, they can create a whole other circle to be able to show their answer. But honestly, like especially for easy ones like this, they can literally take these two. I'm adding 1/2 to 1/2, add it back together. I see that I have a whole. If they want to do like the whole problem step by step, they can make two circles. So then once again, I see I have a whole. But other than that, they would just keep going throughout the problems. And then as a way to just kind of double check them as a teacher, you would have the students like draw. So it says like 1/2, 1/2. We know that that equals a whole, but then they're gonna kind of draw out exactly what they did with the Play-Doh. So it's 1/2, 1/2, whole, and then they just keep going down the line. So our next one would be 1/3. We can do that one as well. And then we'll go through the rest of the project. I also just thought that Play-Doh would be like easy because it's a like fairly non-expensive like tool. It's also like easy to make. I didn't make this one, but I know that there's like recipes and everything that I've used prior. So this one is, like I said, 1/3 plus 1/3. So sometimes if it's those like odd numbers, it's a little bit trickier to divide them super evenly. But I feel like as long as students get the gist, it also helps them figure out how to divide these or draw these things on their own to give them a better visual representation themselves. So we have our thirds here. So if I'm looking at all three of these right now, I can take away one. Okay, I'm going to add this one, and then I'm going to add it to, let's say, this one. And then, so technically I don't really need this one. We can kind of keep it aside. So if I'm adding these two together, same concept, 2/3. And then looking back, that's exactly what I had drawn as well. And then, like I said, you would just go all the way down the line. So that's what I had for my concrete level activity. I'll then share my screen to be able to go through all of it. And then one thing that I also had added, to the beginning of that activity, just as like kind of a warm up. I also just think it can be fun. Is this YouTube video? It's just this like small, cute little book about fractions that I just kind of thought would be cute, just to kind of show them some like real life scenarios on fractions. And I just like starting lessons out in general, like with the book, just because it's fun and adds like a literary element to math as well. But going back to the bridging sequence as a whole, this is for 4th grade. I have my TEKS down here. Basically, my objective for this whole thing is just for students to be able to add fractions. All of the fractions that we will be adding today for this lesson at least have common denominators. So that is their objective, to be able to add fractions with common denominators, hopefully with little to no help, but yes. And then prereqs that the students need basically is just an understanding of addition and a basic understanding of fractions, basically like what does a half represent, what does a third represent, and then after that they kind of go through everything else here. This would probably take about an hour and a half, depending on how many kids, just if they're getting it or not, stuff like that. And then I feel like this could definitely be like a small groups thing, or like individual with the whole class, with like table groups, whichever. I feel like it's very flexible in that manner. But yeah, so I have my YouTube video here. We don't have to play it, but
On every vacation,
it's just a cute little book called Give Me Half. And then this is everything I had written, a little picture just to show. And then the worksheets, answer sheets right there. And then for my pictorial level, I really wanted to do something like kind of different, but while still using pictures, obviously. So for this one, the students will be given these little puzzle cards, I guess. Not really puzzles, but it just helps with categorizing the right answers. So obviously the teacher will need to have these printed out, like one per group. I think this one would need to be done with a group, just because if not, that's a lot of copies to make. And then it's just a lot of work for one student. I think this would be a good thing to have teamwork on. I have 6 examples here. I feel like that was like a pretty decent amount. It could definitely be cut down depending on time availability, stuff like that. So basically these will be cut out into 4s, into their little rectangles. And the students will be given all of them, all of whatever you want to use, and they're going to have to just categorize these back into the right answers. So what you're given is the fraction problem, the fraction answer, or for this case, the whole answer, and then like a picture version of the fraction problem, and then a picture version of the fraction answer. I did this because I wanted to include both, because I think that it just gives the students a good like way to visualize, okay, that's the fractions number representation. This is how I might see it in real life, or just like as a picture version. And so it goes through all of them: 1/5 plus 3/5, 4/5, and then the pictures, 1/3, 1/3, 2/3, pictures, stuff like that. And it also just kind of reiterates what they've just done with the Play-Doh. So I think that would help a lot. And then the answer sheet is pretty much the same thing. The answers are together. When the students get them, they'll be separated, but the answer sheet is basically the worksheet as well, just not separated yet. And then lastly, for my abstract version, I really like this one. I think it could be a great way to kind of wrap up the lesson as a whole, and then also as like it could be used as a formal or informal assessment. I feel like I personally think I would use it as more informal, just to like kind of check for understanding, see what needs to be done in small groups, as well as just like see what what might need to be reiterated like in a future lesson. So yeah, for this assignment, the students are basically going to be given a worksheet that I'll show you right now. And so for this worksheet, the students will add their name, date, all of that. And then they're going to come down and they're going to see all these fractions, and they have letters attached to them as well. And so what's going to happen is the students will solve one problem, see that okay, 2/4 plus 1/4 gives me the letter M. And then they're going to go down here and they're going to find that answer. So we're looking for 2/4 plus 1/4 is 3/4. Where is our M going to go? And they're going to know that it's going to go right here. And then they're going to continue that all the way until they figure out the little joke riddle thing, and they have the correct message. I really liked this as an abstract form because, and I wanted to create it like this because, one, it's a good way to have the students check for their own understanding, or like check their own answers to see if they're right. And then they can go back, see where they may have went wrong, blah, blah, blah. But it definitely, I also think it just brings like a more fun element to just a plain worksheet in general. And then so going down here, sorry, I can't, back right here, we can see the answers. And then so the question is like, where does a cow go on a Friday night? And then the answer would be the movies, which I just thought was funny. And then the cow just makes it really cute. But yeah, so that is the 3 elements to my bridging sequence. That is all that I have. Thank you so much.